another episode of Friday Night SmackDown. It's done and in the books. I don't know why I'm whispering. Maybe because by the time that you see this, there will be no more room to talk after CM Punk took nearly all night to explain and talk about kind of a little bit of nothing. But he had more time because it wasn't at the end of the night like Monday Night Raw. Anyway, yes, that's what we all came here for. That's what we all wanted to see, what CM Punk was going to do. And I think that he didn't really say anything really anymore that he said Monday or last but the week before last Monday. He sort of rambled a bit. You could still I feel like you could still sort of see he's a little got a little jitters about it or whatever. You can tell also the way that it's funny, he comes when he comes out and for a good amount of time everybody's like CM Punk and loves him, and then sort of when he starts talking and doing some things, that's when you start to get a little bit of a mixed reaction, not just it's like not like it's like a boo. It's a little bit of boo, but a little bit of and I don't know. That part is still kind of weird, cause it's not like they going in straight like boos or where they chant somebody else's stuff or that I would probably understand, but sometimes it's like an uneasiness where it just sounds like people are just chitter chattering amongst themselves, like did you see what he got on today? Like this sort of like that kind of stuff. I don't know, but as I was like, even though that's what we all came here for, I was like, let's just get SmackDown out the way, because to be honest, that's really how SmackDown was really seemed like a book tonight, and that maybe, and I don't know, that was a tribute to the troops thing or the CM Punk thing. I don't, maybe they had other stuff. I mean, it was still 2 hours, but it went through very quickly. Like, we basically started off with Esco Santabar, with Santos Escobar, my bad, did like reverse, versus Dragon Lee. Then Dom Mysterio came out, and yes, while there's a connection with Ray, but Dragon Lee also gets to fight Dom for his North American Championship, which I could have sworn I felt like we'd been down this road, but maybe not. But yeah, so this match really it felt shorter than the Survivor Series match. Like Dragon Lee had nearly 90% of the offense in this whole match. It was a lot of, yes, they're going to do like flips and stuff like that, luchador type of stuff, but it was really just quick, fast, in a hurry, and we're done. Like Santos won basically because Dragon Lee was on the ropes, knocked him off the ropes, and that sort of, he holds his groin, picks him up, and basically just kind of KO'd him for the pin and the win, and that was it. Like, I couldn't even really describe to you what moves or what anything they really did, just because it was just that quick. There was nothing here going on that was substantial enough. Then Dom just stood over him, basically, and that was it. And, I mean, I knew Santos was going to get the win, because I was like, I feel like this is a rivalry that they're trying to do. And, so I'm like, okay, cool, they're going to do this because he got his lick back basically from Survivor Series. But as fast as it went, it's also like, are you doing more harm to whatever this is that you're trying to do anyway? Because Survivor Series was like, ooh, that's a taste. The second one going to be better than, building up for the third or whatever like that. This one's like, I was like, this one, you just tell me what's on the menu. And at this point, it's like, both of them are sort of like sputtering, where it's like Santos need wins in order to be a heel as he is, while Dragon Lee was having momentum, and now you throw him into the sort of feud where it's like, well, somebody's going to have to lose here, kind of thing. But yeah, okay, it's over done with. Then we got Cody Rhodes come out here and basically all he did was just come and talk. He didn't even really talk too much either. He really just threw on a tribute video a little bit that would talk about the troops, and he just basically gave his thanks, and that was it. He pretty much was out. Came back a little bit later for another thing later on, but then we got Lashley and Cross, and I seen online and stuff that people are like, great, Cross is just going to get squashed. They just put him in here, get black. They brought him back from to be squashed and stuff like that. You even had some people on the commentary talking about, I ain't seen him since he got beat by AJ Styles, which is sort of true, but it's just sort of weird that it points out. But yeah, Lashley came out, and I forgot Lashley was in the army, and I actually thought that what about if they was going to do something where Cross starts they try to revive him by him being Lashley, and then once I was reminded that he was in the army and served, that I was like, no, he's gonna lose. This is basically like hometown. This is basically like your birthday. Like you're gonna lose. You're gonna win in this situation. Also, Escobar won, so therefore you're not gonna have two heels, because they're not the two heels that can work necessarily against each other or not like that, especially because it's like this ain't AEW in that type of way. So Lashley was going to get the win. They tried to give Cross a little bit of a, thing here. I was like, they had him get the offense early, throwing him out the ring. Lashley tried to throw him over into the steel steps, didn't work. So, but Lashley was able to avoid that, and he was able to jump off the steel steps, like diving clothesline a little bit onto him. And then since then, that was just sort of like the turning tide. Some stuff happened in the commercial break, so we just got to see them both like sort of really tired. Then Lashley picks him up in the corner, drops him, and basically sets him up for the spear. 1, 2, 3, it's over, done. And it was also quick. It was also a pretty quick match. And I was like, not complaining as the Escobar one, but it still was quick in a way that was like, okay, there was no need here for this at all. Anyway, I was like, then we get Damage Control out there. Out in backstage. They're all just like giggly and stuff, and then Bayley comes in, and then they all do the quiet thing, and Bayley's trying to be like, I'm sorry for last week. I'm going to stay back here. I'm not going to interfere, blah, blah, blah. And Dakota Kai basically going to say, yeah, you should do that. And probably, we're going to go out there, but you ain't even got to go out there. That kind of thing. And like, you just stay here, Bayley. Anyway, the Feast of Resistance, CM Punk. So he comes out and basically talked about like he basically had to tell him that he's home again. He's like, my friend Cody Rhodes. Well, he didn't say Cody Rhodes, but he said a friend of mine. Basically, like, what do you want to talk about? And so then he's like, oh man, am I going to go on Raw? Am I going to go on SmackDown? And he had the crowd sort of do a weird type of thing, because I was like, to me, I'm like, the crowd doesn't matter in this situation because he's going to be at a different crowd for next SmackDown. But he basically he's like, oh, they wanted me to go to Raw, and they're like, boo. And he's like, oh, should I stay on SmackDown? And they're like, yeah. He's like, man, I swear the Raw crowd was a lot louder and all this other stuff. So it was weird. I was like, he messed up on one. I'm like, I don't think he messed up, but it was really a weird phrase where he sort of tried to pit him against him, but it didn't. It was just weird. Whatever. He got to decide between the two places he wants to go. And in that, he's like basically like, oh, maybe I'll come over here to SmackDown. And he's like, and then I'll be able to be on here, and then I'll end up throwing 29 other people over this rope. And then, everybody starts cheering. And he's like, and I'm going to be able to stand up on top of the ropes and point at the sign and get my main event at WrestleMania. And then he's like, so everybody's talking about their stories, wanting to finish their story. What about my story? I want to finish my story. I have a story to say thing. And in that I'm sort of going all over the place of what he was talking about. But then he's like, who should we talk about? He's like, maybe I could talk about people who are here, maybe people who aren't here. And then it was like, ooh, because everybody's knowing that he's talking about self, but he swerved everybody where he's like, yeah, Roman Reigns, and everybody's like, oh, I'm doing sound effects. Look, he basically like, oh, you're never like he's never here, you're part timer kind of thing. That's where he's alluding to with that. We'll see how Punk is where if he's a part timer kind of guy. But he's like, yo, remember who was the OG? What had the OG Wiseman? And in my head I was like, Brock Lesnar. But in this scenario, I guess he's talking about him. I was like, maybe one day we'll just do a triple threat of Punk, Lesnar, Roman Reigns for Paul Heyman's ponytail. I don't know. Yeah, so he alluded to that. He also just started being like, he's like, man, he's like, you got a lot of family here, got a lot of cousins running around. He's like, you got Solo. I ain't met him, but he's like a tough SOB. I don't know, whatever Stone Cold says. He's like Jimmy. He's like, I've seen his man Jay over on Raw. He's like, so I could be over there with Raw with Jay, or I could be over here with Jimmy. He's like, I like that a little bit better. He's like, maybe, but he's like, they're a tag team. So I gotta find some people that are gonna be on my side. I gotta find out some people that's gonna be able to tag with me. He's like, there's a guy I could tag with that, we might have a little bit of complicated, but we could. He got some voices in his head. He's like, but I know some guy that would also tag with me. LA Knight, that thing. He's like, but is there anybody else? Is there anybody else? He's like, I guess he could hear it, because like if you just hear it, it's sort of like you don't know what they're all saying, but it sounds like he can hear individual people. But he's like, Kevin Owens. He's like Kevin Owens. He's like, the problem is that me and him are basically alike. He's like, I don't know, but I'm not even gonna get on that one. And then I can think of when everybody else started sort of saying it, then they started, doing Self from the Ring theme song. And they were like, oh, that's all he got, so you could go ahead and keep on with that or whatever. And they kept on. And he's like, I don't even have to dress that, because I was like, you're not even a man in your own house. That whole thing everybody does get self. But basically, he's over here just saying like, I want my shot at having a main event at WrestleMania. And then he pretty much just mic drops after that. But so he's alluding to winning the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, having the main championship. All good stuff. Like I said, it wasn't completely nothing, but it was just it was a little bit more detailed stuff. Once he sort of, it was a nothing. It was a sandwich where it was like at the top, the bottom, good stuff, and in the middle was kind of like, because he didn't really go at anybody. Oh, but he did what he did say about Kevin Owens. He's like, we do kind of, we tend to fight and throw punches. He's like, man, who would do that? Who would just start fighting, throw punches in the back of the locker room? And that's sort of where the crowd got a little uneasy. Then he was like, he's like, 2023 can't be going around doing that kind of thing. And I was like, that's the best he could sort of do, like trying to allude to some of his past stuff without possibly having stuff to say, because I don't know what he can and cannot say. Anyway, so then after that, we got Flair and Asuka. But I was like, and just a little bit before that though, as CM Punk is walking through, I was like, he's in Nick Aldis's room, and Cody Rhodes comes through, and he's like, oh, He's like, so you're gonna come in and try to ruin my story? And he's like, if that's what it got to be. They shake hands. Cody Rock, CM Punk bounces. Then we see CM Punk walking backstage. He sees the Bloodline door. He's about to knock on it, but he continues to walk away, and he sees Kevin Owens, and then and then he asks for, like, have you seen Nick Aldis? And it's just like Chuck, like, no, walks away, whatever. Flair and Asuka. This match, the match was fine for after like the beginning part, like, it was going through all the things that they're about to do. It was really once they came back from break, we didn't see what happened, but Flair took a bump off the rope really hard. You could see her, and they would talk about it on commentary, but you could sort of see like she was talking or whatever, and it just seemed like, oh, okay, whatever. But after that, you could tell like she wasn't 100% there. Like, you don't want to jump to the conclusion of like a concussion or something, but something was off in how she was talking and how she was delivering her stuff, because she wasn't really able to, like a couple things, like you could tell like a muscle memory, like Asuka tried to run at her and she threw her into the second rope, but then you see sort of her grab her knee, so that was weird. But then she tried to do a figure 8 and she just couldn't get the lock on, and I don't know, but you could tell like she was just going through the motions, and it seemed like she wanted, like, they had to rush to get it done. But Bayley came through and basically distracted Charlotte. Charlotte thought about hitting her, moved it away. Asuka about hit her, and then she basically moved Asuka. She basically let Asuka move out the way. Charlotte did end up hitting her, and Asuka basically got the roll up, and that was over. So Bayley helped this time get the win, but I was like, but like I said from the beginning, where it was like fluid, she did a bump on the outside with Asuka onto like the barricade, did her little moonsault, and then after that, she just looked groggy. Anyway, then to the main event with Solo and Jimmy, with Randy and LA Knight. I was like a pretty less longer match than what had been on the rest of the night, which Randy starts off with Jimmy and basically beating Jimmy up a bit. Then Solo gets in there and then so then that they were able to fight a bit. Then it was LA Knight giving him the little blind tag, because the whole thing was like, can we coexist? Which also Randy and LA Knight was sort of like jarring each other, because Randy was joking like, I don't even know who that dude is. CM Punk sort of shows up and it's like, good luck, and then walks away. That was earlier, but throughout the match, basically working on LA Knight, Solo. Then they threw Jimmy in, and after that, it was pretty much a wrap. They just singled out Jimmy. I was like, they each sort of like, but then when Solo got in there, he started beating up Randy, and he about to spike him, and then I was like, LA Knight comes in, takes him out. I was like, I was like, that's where it is, just Jimmy, and waiting for the RKO. Solo come back in, knocks him out. I was like, they got rid of him. They about to do LA Knight about to do the BTS on Jimmy, and then Randy Orton's like, nope, and just RKO'd him and took it from him. Then they just grabbed hands and just like respect, and that was it. But that's all of SmackDown. Weird show. Wasn't good. But like I said, I don't know if that's it just might be because of the tribute to the troops, and they might have other stuff they do and other stuff, like it's probably more an eventful day and week that they're doing, where they're just trying to get matches in while trying to continue storyline, but also doing stuff for them. So that's why I'm not expecting too crazy. And look, the whole thing everybody wanted is the CM Punk thing. That's what everybody got. So that was fulfilled. Everybody should cross out the check mark. But yeah, anyway, that's SmackDown review recap. You like the video, I appreciate it. If not, hey, maybe next time. But until then, see you for the next WWE movement.